All righty. Good morning. It's Ron. It's Saturday again, and here we are. Beautiful day here, pretty day. Uh, any questions and or comments? Anything that came to light to you this week? No questions?
Um, I want to ask a question. Did anyone see From Russia with Liv last night on MSNBC?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I go ahead. Go ahead, Kathy.
That wasn't me. That was just someone else saying yes as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. The reason I raised that is because it was a thorough investigation and a great presentation of what's been going on with this country forever and a day, and how um, how things are function beneath the surface, and it really showed those things that need to be changed. Honestly, um, maybe we'll talk about it because it's supposed to come on again tonight at 8 o'clock. Maybe we could talk about it later. But I also want to point something out, if I may. The idea of things going back to where they were. The light of all lights, the Creator is not going to allow that to happen. For example, we hear all of these discussions about the Republican Party returning to what it was prior to the era of Donald Trump. That is an impossibility. If it is possible for the Republican Party to return to what it was, then there is no point in us being on Zoom discussing anything, because what it was a projection of the depth of racism that has been beneath the surface until 2008. If you remember, it was the Republican Party that freed us from slavery, and I use that with the air quotes, freed us from slavery, and the Democrat Party fighting for the existence of slavery. So everything is upside down now. We see the Democrat Party now beginning to fight for deliverance, but it's not the party itself, honestly. It is more of the Creator delivering humanity from the nonsense that we've endured for so long. It is under the banner of the Republican Party, Democrat Party, that this is taking place. What is going to be called, how it's going to be labeled, is something that is to be seen. However, I do not believe that either one of them will be the same. Their existence has changed forever. And the change in those two entities is being reflected in the way that the feminine energy of the African is being presented today, represented by Kamala Harris. That was evident with with the Oprah Winfrey interview, I guess it was, with Kamala Harris during the course of the week also. Also, the idea that when the House is taken over, it will be led by Hakeem Jeffries. Once the Democrats return to power in the House. Why am I saying all of this? You would have him being third in line to the presidency. You would have 3 African males leading the most what is it? The most not effective. That's not the word I'm looking for. Let me use this word. More important. The most important their positions in government when it comes to what white supremacists are planning to do with their violence. Because when you think about what Kamala's talking about, when you have Hakeem in charge of the House, well, all money bills, everything that involves spending begins in the House. And when we talk about the deliverance of the people from the poverty that's been systematically placed on them, we have opportunities to see all of that change. So I just wanted to point that out, because I don't want any of us to be under the illusion that the Creator is going to allow things to go back to where they were. If I believe that, I would ask you, let's just disband and just do what we want to do, because it's a waste of time if that's going to happen. Any questions about that, or comments for that matter? Or is there anyone who sees it differently or sees it the way that I presented it? Do you see it?
I think when we talk about time speeding up, when we talk about the age of Aquarius, when we talk about different dimensions, I think all of that is related to what you just said. Time that all of these things, these had a grasp on in the earth, is dissipating. It's no longer going to exist. And we are ushering in a new energy, a new dimension. So as that's lived, it will no longer have a place to catch root, and there's no life for it. I think all of these things that we have been discussing, all these things that seem to be intangible are extremely important. And that is, to me, tied to what you're talking about as we gain understanding into those type of things.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Good morning. This is Audrey. I kind of feel like with all the Republicans who have sort of given in to this Trump mania, plus all the ones who didn't stand up to him, who said they were against him, but they didn't say anything. I mean, they've sort of lost all credibility. So I don't think there's any way they can go back to what they used to be. They're going to have to rebuild, reshape, reconnect with those people who sort of were really ideologically Republicans, who who believed in that, but who were not necessarily supporters of Trump, but just supported him because he was the Republican nominee. So I don't think there's any way they can go back to what they said they were, because nobody believes them anymore.
I agree. You're absolutely right. There is no place for credibility because the people who came out of the woodwork are still going to be the base of the Republican Party. When you talk about the suppression, voter suppression, why is the Creator allowing that to happen again? Why is the Creator allowing a state like Georgia to remove voting places? So, and creating long lines, some of them 5-6 hours, and you can't give anybody water or food while they're in line. Why do you think they're doing that? That's not rhetorical.
This is Vanel. Last time when I heard that on the news, I thought, is it like peeling back the onion? Is that what the Creator's doing? Peeling back the onion so we can see, the people can see how desperate or convoluted we are?
It's part of it. Anyone else? Thank you, Vermeer.
Thank you.
We have not, it's also for us to see that nothing has changed. I remember when we were organizing that there were lines wrapped around buildings. It's always been difficult for us as a people to vote. And for those who think that there is change, I'm here to tell you that this is a modern way of saying to us who desire to vote, in order for you to vote, you must tell me how many bubbles are in this bar of Irish soap, or jelly bean jar, that kind of thing. That happened back in the day, and that same thing is happening today, only in a different way. Create the long lines and make it harder for them to vote. The last time you remember, they ran out of ballots. How do you run out of ballots when you know how many people are registered in the precinct? But they ran out of ballots in the African-American community, or in the African community. And that is the expectation today. Plus, you got 4 million people in Georgia. And so how are you going to hand count ballots? And with the expectation of being finished in time for the national certification, that's not going to happen. So all of these things are a mirror, or a retrospective mirror for those who think that we have come a long way, baby, and we equal now, and we made it. This is a mirror saying to them, you better look with your eye and not your eyes, and you better process with your soul and not your mind. Whenever you hear someone talking about supporting Donald Trump, what you hear on the heels of that, especially African males, young African males, on the heels of that, you hear how ignorant they are. And just because you've been to college don't mean you're ignorant. I mean, that does not mean that you're not ignorant. The ignorance is we had more money when Donald Trump was president. Have you heard that? African-American males. Why do they?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Amira.
I was going to say, I've heard that. We had a discussion at work, and 2 of the ladies, they're upset with their sons because they say, irregardless, they're going to vote for Trump because they had more money they felt like they had more income with him. And both of the mothers are really disappointed.
That's ignorance. First of all, that tells me you don't know how the system works. Now, if you ask them why did they say they had more money, 90+% of them tell you this: he gave us a stimulus check. The Democrat Congress gave you a stimulus check, and Donald Trump forced the treasurer to put his name on the check. And because Donald Trump's name was on the check, those ignorant fools, and I said it, those ignorant fools think that Donald Trump gave them some money. Why do they think like that? Because they have bought into a system that hates them, and they have begun to subconsciously hate themselves because they have bought into a system that intends to destroy them, and they are willing to sell themselves for a $2,000 stimulus check. That's less than what an enslaved person was traded for or was auctioned for. So I'm saying that the younger mindset has bought into the system of African males, not the females, but males have bought into that mindset of Donald Trump. And they truly believe that he is their friend and it's all about money. It is not about dignity. It's not about freedom. It's not about protecting the masses from police violence. It's not about any of those things. It's about $2,000 stimulus check. And now
which is gone already.
Beg your pardon?
Which is gone already.
Yes. And was gone pretty much a week after they got it. And with the economy where it is now, not realizing that Donald Trump is the one who wrecked the economy. And now it's just back on track, not realizing that the reason those first couple of years with Donald Trump was progressive in terms of finance is because he was operating from an Obama economy. And he wrecked the economy that Obama handed him. So I think that is something that's should be up for discussion with us, not or mention at least, because this mindset has to be monitored. And the more energy of change that we can muster to put into the macro, we should do it every opportunity we get. Because with these young African males functioning with that depth of ignorance, it can create problems for the future in terms of the stability of humanity. I also believe. Go ahead, George.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I just got on about 5 or 6 minutes ago. Reverend Richard, I've always been that African-American male that has stated I have always made more money when Republicans are in office. I've never been one to state that because of Trump and the stimulus, I've always stood on the basis of when Republicans are in office, I make more money. And I'll be more than happy to defend that, my stance with any one of you all. Yet as a Republican and as an African-American male, did I vote for Obama twice? Of course I did. And if he could have ran a third time, I would have voted for him a third time. I am voting for Ms. Harris because we need a reset. We need a reset spiritually. And when we reset spiritually, there's also a reset that takes place in the physical and material world. I am completely against Democrats, not all of them. Look what the Black Caucus signed up for. I'm against Democrats for what they did with welfare. They took the African American male out the house. And I happen to know an African American female who would knock on people's doors to make sure that there was no male in the house that's still living today. Yet, just wanted to let you all know, as a Republican, I am willing to defend my stance with anyone. Thank you.
There is no point in defending your stance when you can look at facts. There is no way in hell that you made more money with George Bush because the economy crashed under George Bush. George Bush wrecked the economy so bad until they elected Obama, hoping he would fail. If you look at the time when you think you made more money, you will see that those economies were inherited from Democrats in office. The Republicans have always, since Ronald Reagan especially, believed in trickle-down economics, which means that the rich get richer and the poor get poor. And that movement was on steroids, starting with Reagan and still is with Trump. I'm not going to enter a debate about it because the facts speak for themselves. The other part of that is that we don't need a reset. She is the reset, and I say that because things have already begun. We can see that things are already being reset as this campaign goes forward. Excuse me. Now, if you are a Republican because of money, then you are selling yourself. I'm not supporting a Democrat because of money, and I will not support anybody simply because of money, because the closest I can get to freedom is within me, and my freedom within will not allow me to compromise my dignity for a few dollars. And none of us are ever going to be able to do what Donald Trump and other Republicans have done. Donald Trump could borrow $200 million and not pay the bank back, and then go to another bank and borrow $200 million more. You can't borrow for $20,000, not pay the bank back, and go get $2,000. It doesn't work like that. So anyone who believes that money is a primary factor in voting is too ignorant to vote. You don't know the system well enough to vote. You are a low information voter, and low information voters are very dangerous, especially for the African community.
Well, Reb, just a quick question to anyone in the group. If Donald Trump would have ran as a Democrat, I think he would have won. I think Donald Trump is a nationalist. He's not a Republican. Yet I agree with what you're saying, Reverend Richard. When people ask me, hey, George, why are you Republican? The first thing I ask them is, you born and raised in the state of South Carolina? They say, yeah. How many electoral college votes come out of South Carolina?
No.
How many electoral college does D.C. give you? First thing that they say, D.C. ain't a state. So there are a lot of people out here who are illiterate to how the game is played with the electoral college vote. It's not just Republicans. It's a few Democrats out here too. Yet I just stand on the basis of, will Ms. Harris win this race? Yes. However, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, she will not see a second term. That's more than opinionated. Just got to let it play out. But nonetheless, though, Reverend Richard, I agree in what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you. There has been so much damage done to us by both Democrats and Republicans. until we've always voted for the lesser of the two evils. The greater damage that I have experienced came from the Republican Party after Nixon. When Nixon instituted the Southern Strategy, that is when the transition from Republican to Democrat began to manifest itself. And the reason it began to manifest itself is because Kennedy promised to bring parity to the voting, and promised other aspects in the African community to be upgraded, more equitable, I should say, maybe. The reason Southerners, Southern Africans were Republican is because because Lincoln gave the male the vote. The Lincoln was the freed or ended enslavement. The whole Republican Party, if you look at the genesis of the Republican Party, 1853, the Republican Party was established, I believe it was in Minnesota. And the purpose of the Republican Party from its inception was to end slavery. Lincoln was not the first person that the Republican Party ran for president. He was the second person. And he was the first person to win a national office on the Republican ticket. And the loyalty to Lincoln was because the shackles fell from the feet and the hands of the African, for the most part. That was the loyalty to Lincoln and not a party. So that remained intact until the Nixon Southern Strategy flipped everything on its head. And that's when Africans became Democrats, and a large number became Democrats almost overnight. And when that happened, that gave fuel to the civil rights movement. So for those who are hanging on to that party labels because of what was in the past, buying into a system that is highly manipulative and controlling. Do I say that you should be a Democrat or Republican? I'm saying that you should be whatever it takes for us to lighten the load or the burden that we carry for this entire nation. I do believe that everything has been and is being exposed that needs to be exposed. The historical understanding of the political foundation of this country, especially the foundation of the Africans in this country, must be understood in order for us to be able to make an informed decision about anything that is religious or political for that matter. And what has happened is we are so Christianified until we have bought into the lie that there is a separation between church and state, that you should not discuss politics in church when that's all evangelicals do, discuss politics in church. And we are the ones who are ignorant to this, to what's going on because of our fear of the Internal Revenue Service taking the tax exempt status if we talk politics in the church, and not understanding that it is the church is the controlling arm of the federal government, and as well as state and local governments. So this whole idea of being a Republican because you're from the South or because your parents were Republican, all of that shifted during the period that Nixon, and Strom Thurmond, flipped, the, Democratic Party. I'm sorry, became Republicans in order to defeat the Democratic Party because of Kennedy. Questions or comments about that? Does that make sense? Is it clear? So all I'm saying in essence is this: before you make decisions, know what they're based on. And I'm not telling you how to vote or who to be. That's up to you. I cannot tell you that any more than I can tell you that you got to believe everything I say. I don't say that. You look it up for yourself. Do your own research. Ron,
Good morning, Pastor. This is Kathy. Was someone else speaking?
no, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to take you back to the original question that you asked about the documentary that Rachel Maddow did on the, I don't know what his role was, but the Russian man who went to jail in supporting Trump, and how he came under the spell and how mesmerized he became with Trump and all the things they did to our government in order to throw the government, overturn the government so that Trump and Putin could run the United States. And my only thing is, I really implore everyone to watch that tonight, because I really want to discuss this. Because you can be Democrat, you can be Republican, you can be whatever you choose to be, independent, whatever. But the point of the matter is, this man shines a light on how the game is played. And I really and truly in my heart believe if we were not standing in the gap, Trump would have been successful, because the lengths that he went to make this thing happen should not have failed. And I really would like to hear the group's take on it, what they think about it once they've seen the documentary, because all I could say when I turned my TV off was, oh my God, look what we stopped. Because it is that involved, it's that thorough. You would be surprised at how many Republicans were complicit in the plan and going along with it. And even today, you still got, we have Lindsey Graham still running around under the Trump spell trying to do stuff. And so I really am going to employ others to please watch that documentary tonight, because you will not believe how thorough the machine was that Trump put into place to bring Putin and the Russians in, and all the things he did to overthrow our government. And I mean, I'm still shaking my head in disbelief after having seen that. So I would like for us to be able to discuss that at some point. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the name of the show?
It's on MSNBC.
Mhm.
From Russia with Lev.
Thank you.
Richard Maddow did it. It'll be on tonight at 8:00.
Okay, thank you.
What happened in that, I saw it as well. It is a playbook right out of Overthrow. That's it. What you will see in that documentary. It's the same thing that happens in Africa every day. The way the game is played. The only difference is it's successful in Africa because wholesale murder takes place, as opposed to what you will see when you watch this documentary. And I agree wholeheartedly that if we were not standing in the gap, things would be totally different than what they were, what they are now. Anyway, I thank Kathy for what she has shared with us, and hopefully we can talk about that sooner than later, as early as tomorrow, I hope. But anyway, I'm saying that we have to know what we are dealing with. I think everyone who's under the sound of my voice would agree when you know what you're dealing with, it is a heck of a lot easier to deal with it because you know what you're working with. And without understanding history, you don't know what you're working with. That without understanding the history of it, only thing you're working with is what somebody told you, or you're working with what the government desires you to work with. Look at what happened with Obama. Obama had to denounce Jeremiah Wright in order for him to win that election. He had to make a speech on race in order for him to win that election. And you have a pervert who overtly talks about the private parts of women and is a legitimate sex offender and a thief. And yet, no one has called on him to deal with any of his indiscretions or the legal bind that he's in. No one has called on him to do that. Why? Because he's a white man. If Kamala Harris was dumb as hell like Trump is, there's no way in the world she would be where she is now. How can someone with 34 felonies, with rape being litigated against them, and being so dumb he doesn't know what policy is? He doesn't even understand what that word means. So dumb until he cannot articulate what is actually written on a teleprompter. Yet, look at where he is. No one could have done that except a white man, period. No white woman, no African woman, a white man is the only one who could be that dumb and be where he is. Now, that is the political side of it. The spiritual side of it is, Donald Trump represents the ignorance, the lack of intelligence of the system of government that we live under. He represents the greed that we live under. He represents everything that was everything that this country was formed on. He represents that. He, excuse me, even though he is one of the most ignorant people I've ever heard speak, he is able to articulate only the principles of this country. And the principles that he articulates very well is racism, it's sexism. The things that he is able to articulate is white superiority. And, and those are the things that men who are more subtle in their manipulation than he is have hidden for all of these years. Now it has come to light. Do you think for a moment that that the rest of the politicians did not know about this? Do you think for a moment that white preachers didn't know about this? Why do you think that the majority of white Christians are Republicans? Why do you think that they are engaged with the Tea Party? Why do you think that they did not do anything to stop the Tea Party? Why do you think that they did absolutely nothing to Trump for 2 years? Do you think for a minute that Merrick Garland intended to prosecute Trump? No, he did not. If it had not been for the House Committee on January 6th, none of this would have been made public. And the only people who would understand what's going on are the ones who follow politics and understand the nuances of it. You must understand also the nuance of politics in relationship to Christianity, because that's where the power is. And Donald Trump articulates that very well. Why do you think that Donald Trump can hold the Bible upside down and talk about 2 Corinthians and can't recite one verse in the Bible, yet Christians support him? White Christians support him. Why do you think that? Why do you think that there is something called Christian nationalism? Yes, Donald Trump is a nationalist, but he's a white nationalist. If he had been a Democrat, he still would have been a white nationalist, because Donald Trump has been a racist all his life. He is reflective of the nature of this country. He is a white nationalist. His daddy, it was no different than he and his daddy were extremely close in every endeavor that his daddy engaged in. His daddy was arrested with the Klan in New York, and no one really wants to talk about that. Why is it that all of these things are not being talked about? Because there is that they are complicit with what Trump is doing, and as quiet as it's kept, the people who own the news media, the different outlets of news medias, are in the bed with Trump because Trump desires, his desires for Israel are the same as Netanyahu. So those are the kinds of things that we must take into consideration when we begin to make decisions about the direction that we hope to travel in this nation. I'm done. Ron?
Excuse me, questions or comments, anyone? Okay.
I strongly solicit questions and comment, because we are not going to get this out there without you raising the question that may be on your mind, because they're not questions just for you. They're questions for humanity.
Well, one of the things that came to my mind is it just sort of solidifies to me the notion that what happening in Ukraine was a partnership between the United States and the Soviet Union. It's not what it appeared to be when it started.
When you look at that documentary, you see how true that is. When you look at the document and you see how the Republicans were rubbing shoulders with the Russian mafia at Donald Trump's inauguration, with the Russian mafia having VIP invitations to the inauguration, as well as the Republicans, and how they interacted with each other. So this, and now this is the other part of that, since you mentioned it. Do you think that Biden did not know that the Russian mafia was at Donald Trump's inauguration? How come he didn't use that in a campaign ad? I'll leave that to you to answer that question. Not you, Ron, but
Pastor, this is Linda. With the Russians are already infiltrated in the United States, they're already here. When Kamala becomes president, will they deflect and go back to Russia, or are they still gonna, do you think they will stay here and try to wreak havoc? Because you would be surprised. I would go with Kathy to her chiropractor. He was a Russian. And I was just shocked as to how many Russians are here in Spartanburg. And when they talk against Biden, you know, and so they have put all these people in place. So that was for Trump's benefit. So what will happen to them now?
First of all, they were not put in place for Trump's benefit. they've always been here. This is a Russia and America fight at odds on the surface, but they're no different when it comes to how you control, manipulate, and destroy people of color. They did not infiltrate the United States. They just came to the United States at the behest of people who are in league with them. The whole idea of Ukrainians and Russians being in this country is nothing new. They have always been here, and there has never really been a push against what Russia has done. The only reason the United States did everything they could to get rid of the Soviet Union was not to destroy the Soviet Union. They did it because the Soviet Union was too powerful. And America will get rid of any country leadership by hook or crook that it perceives has the propensity to be stronger than it. America's not going to allow any country on this earth to be more powerful than it is. And so their presence is not unknown, and their reason for being here is not unknown. A member of the Russian mafia is the one who bought and sold Mar-a-Lago to Donald Trump. He didn't have the money to buy that. So why is that not added? So what I'm saying in essence is that there are no borders when it comes to Europeans. There are no borders. When we talk about different countries, they don't exist. They only exist on the map. But when it comes to white people, no. Look at what Bill Clinton allowed to happen in Rwanda until the world began to put pressure on him to deal with it. When they wanted to have a military base in Eastern Europe, look at the war in Bosnia. All of that was about putting a military base in that part of the world. So America's not going to let that happen. It's just that simple. And as far as Ukraine is concerned, if America was really, truly supportive of the Ukraine, they would do the same thing for Ukraine that they're doing for Israel. The weapons that they desire, they would have. So if they want Russia to be defeated, why is it that they're not supplying the weapons? Now they're not doing that for the Hamas to be defeated. They're supplying the weapons as a method of genocide to gain control of even the Gaza Strip or maintain that kind of control. I hope I answered your question, Lynn.
You did.
Thank you. I don't want us to operate or function under the illusion that white people are against white people. This is all about money. They're not against each other until money comes into question. The whole thing with Ukraine, it has everything to do with the oil pipeline that runs from Russia through Ukraine into other parts of Eastern Europe. This is about money. And again, I don't ask you to believe what I say. Do your homework. Do your homework. The documentary that has been referenced it did not surprise me. What it did for me is fill in the blanks. Because listening at what was taking place, I knew what was happening, but I did not know the nuances of it. And those of us who follow politics closely knew what was happening, but what Rachel did was fill in the blanks, and showed us the depths that it would go to get it done. And you hear me say this all the time. If you want to know how this country functions, read Overthrow. If you don't read anything else, read that book, Overthrow. It is important for you to read that book. It's just as important for you to read that book as it was important to you to read the Bible. You read the Bible because you thought you were studying God. When nobody can actually study God. You're studying yourself and didn't know it. Overthrow is a picture of what this country has been from the beginning. I cannot emphasize it enough. I'm done. Questions, comments? Ron?
Well, I want you to do something for me. We shed light on a lot of things, and yeah, it is important to look at the documentary. I want to see it because I wasn't aware that it was even coming on. We all know this, of course, deep down, but there is, I want to make sure when we have these in periods of enlightenment like this, that we don't have a, oh my God, here we go again moment, or one of fear. These things are merely being opened up. We're being made aware of it because, as Kathy pointed out, we're the ones that stand in the gap. And there has always been a feeling to me anyway of darkness or evilness never sleeps. It's like a boat that keeps springing leaks. And so as the leaks keep springing up, we are able to fix them now without going after each, being reactive and going after each leak individually. Oh, here's another one. Oh, here's another one. We are looking at this from a much stronger, positive, proactive place. And even with all of this being said, that's who and what we are. And I don't know, I just feel it important to end these sessions with that reinforcement that no matter what is thrown, it is already dealt with before it reaches its target. Yeah.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
The whole political thing disgusts me. It makes I get nauseous, to be honest with you, because I know that they're playing a game. And sometimes I don't delve into it because it will make me I'll get upset, if that makes sense. Because I know Lindsey Graham, they so low. I mean, that type of mentality, it's disgusting. But anyway, I'll come back. Anyway, we talk about energy flows where attention goes. So tonight, when we look at this documentary, by us focusing on that, does that shed light on what we are doing? That lets us know where we are?
Evelyn, the documentary shows us not where we are as much as it shows us the personality of this country. The reason I pair that with overthrow is because overthrow will show you that what you would, this documentary is,
I'm gonna try to figure it out because I don't know who I was
George, George, would you mute George? Thank you. Overthrow rather. I pair that with this documentary because the book actually shows you that nothing has changed in this nation or in this country. Nothing. The only ones in that you have to read, but I read the whole book, but I'm suggesting that you read the overthrow of Vietnam, how the war got started in Vietnam, how Hawaii was taken over, and it was led by females, by the way, and the other one is Iran. Those three, you read those three, and you will see the face of this country. Now, the reason I suggest those three is because some of you probably not going to read the whole book, but if you read anything in there, read those three. It is important for us to see that the personality of this country has always been what it is today. Always. There are different types of slavery. All slavery does not mean that you have shackles on your hand, your feet. It does not mean that you're on an auction block. The most dangerous slavery on earth is when your mind is enslaved. When you have a slave mentality, it is extremely difficult to free you because you have been convinced that you are already free. And that freedom lasts until it doesn't. If you are already free, if you believe that, drive through an upscale neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the morning. Drive through a white neighborhood where millionaires and billionaires live at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you believe that. We have to free our minds. And the only thing that can free our minds is our soul. And our soul always speaks the truth. The reason people get upset with you or argue with you when you tell them the truth is because they know it's the truth.
So,
Yeah.
Pastor, I was watching this. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. I apologize.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Evan.
So, while I was watching this documentary, all eyes on this documentary, our eye. I know we're gonna have some feelings. So as far as me, tell me, when I watch this documentary, not to sit in judgment, but just watch and see how things are played. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Just help
Yeah.
me. Tell me what
You're going to have feelings, yes. You're definitely going to have feelings. But it doesn't mean that you have to be reactive to those feelings. If you don't have feelings about what you see, then that's a problem. That's a very serious problem. Because what you see has an adverse effect on humanity. But it does not mean that you have to be in fear of it. And if you are in fear of it, think about where we are in terms of how we are putting things in the macro, and you can see the results of it. We are not saying watch it so you can fear anything. We are saying watch it so you know what you're working with. 99% of the people in this country has no clue as to how this government functions. 99% of the people in this country believe that the war in Vietnam was fighting communism. there is a person who was in the military, and their whole thoughts process was, we got to fight them there so we won't have to fight them here. And when they went to Afghanistan and came back, their mindset was totally different. This is not about fighting them there to keep them so we won't have to fight them here. This is about an attempt to take over a nation because of the minerals that's in Afghanistan. They talk about how Afghanistan, the poppy plants that grows in Afghanistan that produces heroin. They talk about all of that, but they don't talk about the minerals that's in the ground that they want. Russia, France, US have been in Afghanistan to take what they want, but they could not do it. Do you think that George Bush did not know that Afghanistan was not the country? It was Saudi Arabia. So it's to help us to understand how the leaders in this country think, how to process their thought patterns. I see what I see because I see what I see. I see with my eyes and process with my eye. And when I process with my eye, I can see what's not being said. And I keep reiterating, there is no way for anything of this magnitude to take place without the knowledge of Democrats. And this thing is being perpetuated by billionaires. They want this country to be an oligarchy because they are oligarchs. All of them are. Do the background on Bill Gates and see that he's not the philanthropist that you think he is. Do the background on him. Why is he buying up land in the middle of this country, hundreds of thousands of acres? Why is it that he is in Africa pretending to be a philanthropist when he is seeking control in different areas of Africa? Do the background.
Well, that is my question. Does this book cover some of the things that happened in Africa?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It covers some, especially Iran. If I'm not mistaken, if you want to understand what happens in Africa, Patrice Lumumba's life is the one to look at. Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana is the life to look at. And every single one of these takeovers, with the exception, of course, of the ones that were done prior to the CIA, every one of them during the period of the CIA has been done by the CIA. And Dulles was a primary factor in what happened in, I think it's Iran, Vietnam. Dulles Airport is named after him. And you will see the prominent role that he played in overthrowing governments.
Pastor, I have one more comment.
Go ahead.
Isaiah 55:11 says, "So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it." And then, excuse me, I don't know if everyone's seen Color Purple, right? But anyway, Whoopi Goldberg made two bold statements to Danny Glover. And she said, everything you've done to me, already done to you. Until you do right by me, everything will crumble. How does that line up with what's happening now in the United States or in the world in general?
The word is being spoken and it is being spoken. And it will not return empty, meaning that it's going to have the effect that's intended. And the intended effect is for everything to crumble so it can be reassembled for the benefit of humanity. That's how I see that. We did not get to a stage of this level of understanding without having to travel the journey from the Bible to Egypt and back. We did not become as effective as we are now. We've always been effective, but the level of effectiveness is different now. And that difference came when we embraced the reality of femininity being the goddess. When we embraced the reality of what it meant between Osiris and Isis, with Osiris not being able to bring to life, produce life, or even participate in it because the penis couldn't be found. That's a message that all life comes from femininity. So what I'm saying in essence is, now that we have embraced that, the words that we speak on behalf of humanity for the growth and spirituality of humanity will always do what it is sent out there to do. It is a seed that's being sown in the environment of Earth for the express benefit of this environment becoming one with the environment of the universe. As above, so is below. You cannot do that without embracing the truth of beginning, the truth of the earth. I hope that helps, Evelyn.
Ashe. Yes.
Thank you. Truth. Truth is the most powerful weapon that anyone can use. Truth hurts only because we have held onto a lie so tight. Truth exposes everyone and everything. Truth is what opens the eye with a greater clarity. Truth is what gives us the intestinal fortitude to persevere in the face of all types of adversities. Truth shows us the true nature of power. Real power does not come, nor does it exist because of force. Real power exists because it's true. When you don't use the truth, you have to use weapons, material weapons, in order to force people to submit to your power. When you tell the truth, you empower people to be powerful. That is the work that we are obligated to do. That is the journey that we are obligated to travel. And regardless of who it hurts, we must tell the truth. We must tell the truth. You cannot become who you were created to be when you are not only living a lie, but you are a lie yourself because you are playing games. Love and kindness does not manipulate people. European mindset does that. We are not from Africa. We are from a Kabbalah. Africa is the material. We are from a Kabbalah. Nowhere on earth can maybe 1,000 different languages be spoken, yet they are one people. The truth is imperative. That's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps us focused. That's what makes us one entity. One entity that encapsulates all the wisdom that has ever been in this earth. And the encapsulation of that wisdom is what makes us truth. Because the understanding of wisdom and embracing it is what shows us truth. And every time we look into that spiritual mirror, we must see truth. That is not only the goal, that is the life that we must desire to live. America has never been truth, has never even wanted to truth. Only thing it ever wanted was money and power. And we as a people became the source of money and power for Europeans. To this day, we are that source. If you look at every electronic device that we use, all of them came from Africans. More particular, the majority of them came from female Africans. We are the foundation of peace for humanity. We are the foundation for the principles of Ma'at. And the walls that we build on this foundation will be covered with righteousness because of our deep desire to be who we were created to be, agents of truth. I'm done.
Thank you. Questions or comments, anyone? Okay. 8 o'clock tonight, CNBC, correct?
MSNBC.
MSNBC, thank you. Okay. I hope and trust you have a chance to look at it tonight. Have a great day, the rest of your day, rather. And thank you for your energy, all your questions, comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye-bye.